Our boy opens his eyes in the middle of a city, feeling confused as he cannot remember who he is or where he is. He looks around, attempting to piece together his identity, and realizes he does not recognize his own face, which he glimpses in the window of a passing bus. As he inspects his uniform, which bears the words Earth Union, he notices it resembles a military uniform. This discovery piques his curiosity about whether he is somehow connected to the military. However, despite examining his uniform closely, he cannot recall anything about his identity. While he struggles to remember, he suddenly hears a whining noise and instinctively punches a nearby tree with great force, causing it to fall onto the sidewalk. He finds it strange that he reacted so instinctively to the sound, but he cannot comprehend the source of the monstrous strength he possesses. Just as he grapples with the overwhelming flood of questions, he hears a voice in his head greeting him as an agent. Our boy begins to look around, wondering if the source of the sound is nearby. However, he hears the same sound in his head again, which informs him that it originates from an AI combat support system implanted in his body. Surprised by this revelation, he asks the AI about the location and year. The AI analyzes the banner in his field of vision and concludes that he is in Seoul in the year 2024. It then informs him that he is a military AI model from the year 2082, which astonishes him. He wonders how an AI model can be from 2082 while it is still 2024 and asks the AI if he has time-traveled from the future to the past. The AI responds that it cannot retrieve any activity information since its memory has been reset, leading our boy to realize that the AI has lost its memory, just like him. As he contemplates his identity and the bizarre information he has just received from the AI, he receives a warning that the AI has detected a traffic accident. The AI urges him to dodge the incoming vehicle. However, while he is receiving the accident warning, the AI alerts him to a dangerous object approaching. Our boy quickly dodges the incoming metal rod, but it pierces the man behind him and becomes lodged in the man's stomach. Bystanders quickly call 911 and gather around the individual to ensure he remains conscious. Our boy notices some red and blue colors and asks the AI about them. The AI explains that they are projections from the visual assist device, an AR lens feature that enabled him to dodge the metal rod easily. However, he is troubled by the thought that an innocent civilian could die in 5 minutes. Realizing it would be impossible to get the injured civilian to the emergency room in that time, he asks the AI if there is any way to save him. The AI responds that they should perform emergency field surgery, but our boy feels he is not capable of such a procedure. The AI reassures him that it can perform the surgery and instructs our boy to first assess the patient's condition. Despite having many questions, our boy decides to trust the AI and proceeds to assess the condition of the injured civilian. He informs the AI that the wound is deep and will require major surgery, worried about whether the AI can truly perform it. The AI assures him that it has identified the necessary tools and that the surgery can proceed if our boy can acquire a needle, thread, a small knife, and disinfectant. This surprises our boy, making him question whether he can really trust the AI. A boy sitting beside him asks if he is capable of performing emergency first aid, to which our boy replies that he needs some materials to administer first aid. They then ask the crowd if anyone has the necessary supplies. After gathering the materials from the crowd, who are questioning our boy's identity and whether he is even a doctor, he asks the AI what they should do next, sensing the suspicious gazes of those who doubt his credibility. The AI responds that it will be able to perform the surgery with these materials if our boy grants it temporary control. This revelation raises further questions in our boy's mind. However, he prioritizes saving the injured civilian and grants the AI temporary control without hesitation. Once he does, his hands begin to move on their own, and his fingers operate with incredible speed and precision, giving him hope that, at this rate, the surgery will be successful. Suddenly, the AI warns him that the expected blood loss has exceeded the limit, and the patient's survival rate is decreasing. This shocks our boy, as he had believed the AI would be able to save him. He asks the AI if it can still save the man, but the AI does not respond, and soon after, his hands cease to function as before. This situation becomes even more concerning when our boy realizes that the patient's condition has worsened drastically, leaving him deeply worried. The patient was then transported to the hospital on an emergency basis, and an operating room was prepared immediately due to his significant blood loss. The surgery was successful, as the surgeon informs the other doctor that the patient was able to survive. The doctor asks the surgeon whether the operation went smoothly, to which the surgeon replies that it was quite severe. He explains that he was shocked when he saw the patient. Had they not stopped the bleeding, the patient would have died before even exiting the ambulance, and most of the bleeding had already been addressed. The doctor is perplexed by how this was possible, prompting the surgeon to reveal that both the insides and outsides of the patient had been stitched with regular thread used for sewing clothes. This revelation shocks the doctor. However, the surgeon adds that the more astonishing aspect is that the stitching was so uniform it appeared to have been done by a sewing machine. Both the doctor and the surgeon find this absurd, and as they continue discussing the strange aspects of the surgery, a detective enters. Park Ki-young walks in, asking about the patient. The surgeon responds that he arrived just in time, as the surgery was successful and the patient's condition is now stable. However, the surgeon asks the detective if it is true that the initial surgery on the patient was performed on the street. The detective confirms this, stating that, surprisingly, a box cutter was used instead of a scalpel to access the patient's insides. This revelation shocks both the surgeon and the doctor, as such surgery cannot be performed cleanly with a box cutter unless executed by someone with extraordinary skill, akin to a sword master. Ki-young then tells the doctor that all the witnesses testified to the same account. The doctor then inquires about the type of needle used during the surgery, to which the detective replies that an individual bent a needle from a sewing kit and used it to perform the procedure, an assertion that both the doctor and the surgeon find utterly insane. They then inquire about the person who performed the surgery, to which Ki-young responds that he quietly left after finishing the procedure before the ambulance arrived, rendering everyone silent. The scene then shifts to our boy, who is washing his hands in a public bathroom, complaining to the AI model about stopping midway, as he thought it had given up. The AI responds that it was merely calculating the surgical route. Our boy then asks the AI why it has lost its memory, to which the AI explains that its memory appears to have been reset. He further inquires if it remembers its name, and the AI replies that it has not been assigned a name yet. Deciding to give the AI a name, our boy chooses to shorten it to John G, which means Combat AI. He concludes that, from now on, the AI model will be known as John G. After hearing its name, the AI goes silent for a moment, prompting our boy to wonder why it is not responding again. But the AI model, after a short while, the AI informs our boy that its name has been set to John G and that it can be reset later. Our boy asks if he should change it to Black Fire Dragon, but the AI replies instantly that John G is a good name. He then exits the public bathroom and inquires about the patch on his arm, which reads Earth Union. The AI explains that it is a Special Operations military uniform for the Earth Union. Curious, our boy asks why they are in 2024 despite being a Special Forces agent who has lost his memory. John responds that it does not have enough information to determine that. Our boy suggests gathering information using the internet, to which John replies that this is impossible because data input and output are restricted to avoid the risk of hacking. This makes our boy curious about the method John uses to input data. John explains that it gathers information solely through our boy's 5 senses, with all kinds of visual, auditory, olfactory, and immediate sensory inputs shared with it. This data is then analyzed and stored, converting it into information in the information analysis storage. This means that if our boy eats something delicious, John will experience the same sensation. John explains that the output of information is conveyed through the body and voice. However, to do this, John needs permission for temporary control and can only assist when it is deemed necessary for combat. John also mentions limitations, one of which is that it cannot directly attack someone, as it is restricted to assisting with aiming. After hearing this, our boy realizes that it is literally a combat AI, as the name suggests. To gather information about why they are here, our boy needs to experience everything through his body so the AI can process it. He decides to visit a PC cafe to gather information, which makes John curious about whether our boy has recovered his memory. However, our boy tells John that he believes they can collect a lot of information from this place, although they need to enter first, a step he is currently unable to take due to his memory. Thus, he resolves to earn his first 10,000 won. Our boy considers earning money through singing and asks John if it can use his vocal cords to sing. John responds that it can, as this capability may be required in the field. Not fully understanding what John means by the field, our boy decides to grant temporary control and stands in the middle of a space where other singers are already performing. He is amazed to learn that singing is considered quite necessary on the battlefield, as John has everything prepared, even down to the spoon. John explains that this feature was introduced to boost morale among soldiers. However, our boy does not understand why they are singing among other performers, as he cannot expect to outshine their remarkable talent. John tells him that if they can showcase a higher level of skill than the singers in front of them, they will attract the crowd's attention. Nevertheless, our boy thinks that the crowd's attention would likely come in the form of booing or ridicule. Worried about being made fun of, our boy instructs John not to overdo it, despite recognizing that John is a highly capable AI. He fears that John might end up making fun of him, but John acts as if it hasn't heard his concerns and starts the show. After granting John temporary control over his vocal cords, our boy begins to sing, astonishing the audience present. Following John's instructions, he also poses, as engaging the audience is essential. The crowd finds our boy's tone incredible. However, they cannot understand why he keeps singing from the middle of the song. John explains that the songs were collected from the street, so they do not have access to either the beginning or the end. Our boy successfully acquires the minimal funds he desired and decides to leave. However, his audience is now saddened because they want him to sing more. Then, we see a yellow-haired girl from the next building listening to our boy sing, and she is impressed. She thinks to herself that she wants to hear the song a little longer. After earning money through singing, our boy starts walking toward the PC cafe to gather information about the Earth Federation, their purpose, and many other matters. He asks John what they should do if they are unable to find anything. John responds that their priority is to infiltrate the local environment discreetly and blend in naturally, then find a way to contact the command center. Our boy appreciates the idea of discreet infiltration and considers that the PC cafe is hiring employees, which John agrees is optimal, as it would allow them to gather information without worrying about food supply issues. He instructs John to apply immediately. Our boy wants to stay at the cafe temporarily in case they get the job, as they will need a place to sleep at night. John informs our boy that if they can secure lodging, along with food, clothing, and shelter, they will be able to take care of everything necessary. Our boy reminds John that they have not yet sorted out the clothing situation, to which John responds that there is a solution. The military uniform our boy is wearing has a disguise feature. By using chameleonic shape memory special fiber, the outfit can change into various forms. Additionally, the outfit can be disassembled into multiple pieces of cloth, making it easier to reassemble into different styles. Our boy experiments with this feature and creates a strange costume resembling the singers they saw earlier. However, John remains silent, which our boy finds odd. As he wonders about the costume, he notices two people climbing the stairs, mocking the clothing of another individual they encounter. However, when their eyes fall on our boy's costume, they are shocked and quickly move past him without saying a word. This reaction makes our boy realize that they were taken aback by his outfit, to which John responds, equally astonished that such a reaction is possible. Recognizing that the costume is so bizarre it even unsettles an AI, our boy decides to reassemble it into casual clothes and adds a cap, which John believes is an excellent choice for a special agent. Our boy then enters the room and scans the entire area, noting that 96% of the users are currently playing games. John also ensures to check the convenience facilities, verify the payment methods, and review the status of the food. After that, John identifies a suitable place for temporary residence and informs our boy that this location is optimal for his current situation. Our boy then meets the owner of the PC cafe and informs him that he is applying for a job. However, the owner finds it presumptuous that our boy does not have an identity card and is unable to proceed with the application since he is filling in for a missing employee. The owner asks our boy to bring the ID tomorrow and to write the resume immediately. He suspects our boy to be the type who comes to the cafe merely to sit around and slack off, assuming he is someone who can only cook instant ramen despite having a nice face. Consequently, the owner asks if our boy is capable of handling a frying pan, emphasizing that he needs to know how to use one since they sell food here. John informs our boy that it has field tactical cooking skills designed for soldier condition management. Our boy informs the owner that he can handle cooking, to which the owner responds by asking him to make some fried rice. John highlights the necessary ingredients, and our boy grants temporary control of his hands to John, instructing him to prepare delicious fried rice. John initiates field tactical cooking and begins to cook swiftly, causing our boy to feel as if his body is moving lightly, almost as if he instinctively remembers how to do this. The owner of the cafe is surprised to see our boy skillfully prepare fried rice from scratch, as he initially expected him to simply stir-fry some frozen rice. What astonishes the owner even more is the speed at which our boy works, so fast that the owner can hardly see his hands. When our boy presents the finished dish to the owner expresses skepticism. He believes that while it was done quickly, that does not necessarily indicate quality, and he assumes it may not be well cooked due to the rush. The owner falls silent after taking the first bite, leaving our boy wondering if it tastes bad. After a brief pause, the owner remarks that he cannot handle this dish, as the fried rice is so delicious that it would be a crime. While the owner enjoys the tastiest fried rice he has ever eaten, his niece, Eun-seo, walks in, curious about his unusual behavior in the middle of the day. The owner introduces his niece to our boy, explaining that Eun-seo is also an employee at the cafe. However, the owner does not need to introduce our boy to her, as Eun-seo already knows him from his performance outside a few hours earlier. She asks our boy why he is working at a PC cafe despite having such a mesmerizing voice, to which he responds that he is good at singing and can pretty much do anything else. John reminds our boy that it is actually John who excels at everything, but our boy tells John to be quiet. Meanwhile, the owner is delighted to have a young employee who can cook, especially since Eun-seo struggles with even the simplest tasks, often burning or spilling instant food, which she finds quite embarrassing. The owner asks our boy if he has a preferred time for work and whether he would like lunch or dinner facilities. Our boy responds that he prefers part-time shifts, allowing him to work only at specific times. Moreover, he requests that these working hours be flexible. The owner is taken aback by such demands, but our boy continues and expresses a desire to stay in the storage room temporarily while he works, as he plans to remain there for a while. The owner inquires if he does not have a home, to which our boy replies that he is out for an extended period. While the owner finds this situation quite difficult, he realizes that our boy's skills are too valuable to overlook. The nearby PC cafe has gained popularity due to its food offerings, which makes the owner somewhat envious. Seizing this opportunity to enhance his own cafe's reputation for food, he agrees to let our boy stay in the storage room and provides free meals, along with double pay for a week, contingent upon our boy's cooking increasing sales. Surprised by the offer of double pay, our boy recognizes that he cannot let this opportunity slip away and decides to prepare a tasty dish for the two customers who have just entered, as they believe that the food served in PC rooms is subpar. Our boy prepares a plate of delicious fried rice for the customers who had previously complained about the low quality of food and asks Eun-seo to bring him a plate so he can serve it to them. Both the owner and Eun-seo are impressed by the perfect plating of the fried rice, to the point that they are tempted to try it themselves. However, the owner instructs Eun-seo to deliver the order to the customers. The two customers, initially skeptical of the food quality at a PC cafe, find our boy quite bold for serving fried rice. One of them decides they should simply taste it and then continue on their way. Meanwhile, Eun-seo brings their order, surprising both customers with the prompt delivery, as it arrived before they could even start their game. They struggle to believe that what they see is fried rice, given its unusually elegant presentation. However, Eun-seo, who is also drooling over the dish, assures them that it is indeed what they ordered. The customers decide to give it a try and, as they take their first bites, they are flooded with nostalgic feelings reminiscent of the times they managed to sneak a meal from their trainer after a strenuous workout. They mistake the PC cafe for a fried rice hotspot because of how delicious it is and order 2 more plates. Other customers, witnessing the praise from the initial diners, also decide to order fried rice for themselves. Eun-seo rushes to the counter to inform the owner that they have received 12 orders for fried rice, which shocks him. He asks our boy if he can handle such a large number of orders. Our boy whispers to John, inquiring whether it is capable of managing such a significant request. John responds that the tactical field cooking technique it employs is inherently suited for large-scale recipes. John further explains that the cooking is fundamentally delicious, as providing quality food is crucial. Soldiers would feel demoralized if they were forced to eat poor meals after risking their lives. Impressed by this skill, our boy gives control to John, instructing him to prepare a generous 15 servings. After 3 hours, the owner reviews the cafe's sales and finds them to be remarkable. This prompts our boy to ask the owner if he has secured double pay for the week, to which the owner confirms it is indeed a certainty, instructing him to maintain this level of performance. The owner decides to clean the storage room for our boy and inquires about his name, to which our boy responds that his name is Na Kang-e. The owner then goes to stock up on ingredients for Kang-in, while Unseo, on the other hand, is unconscious after consuming the leftover fried rice, which she found extremely delicious. John asks Kang In if he remembers his name, to which Kang In replies that it just slipped his mind. Although Kang In manages to secure a place for himself, he realizes that he needs an ID to receive payment. He asks John if it can hack into the database, to which John responds that it possesses hacking skills developed from the early 21st century to 2082. This piques Kang In's curiosity, leading him to ask whether John can also hack a bank, as that would eliminate the need to work in the PC cafe. However, John informs Kang In that its skills are limited to local infiltration. Kang In then inquires if John can forge an ID, to which John confidently replies that it can easily do so and requests temporary control of Kang In's hands, which Kang In grants without hesitation. John easily hacks into the Korean government administrative database and begins searching for individuals with similar information to Kang In. However, John detects an unknown issue, which surprises Kang In, as John informs him that information for Na Kang In is already registered in the database. John then attempts to match the fingerprints of both Kang In's, resulting in a 100% similarity. Kang In cannot believe what he is seeing. He is from the 2082 Earth Federation Special Forces, and John was also created in the same year. Kang In asks John to check if there is an Earth Federation Special Forces unit in 2024. John searches online information from the UN and major countries, but finds no record of such a unit in 2024. This prompts Kang In to wonder whether he simultaneously exists in both 2024 and 2082. John, however, tells him that they do not have sufficient information to make a determination. Kang In then asks John to thoroughly examine his personal information, believing there may be an important clue. Unfortunately, the only unique finding is that Kang In is unemployed. However, as they are working, John informs Kang In that Unseo is nearby. Kang In immediately aborts what he was doing and turns his attention toward Unseo, who is surprised by his typing speed and asks if he is also able to develop programs. Instead of answering, Kang In tells Unseo that it is rude to peek at the monitors of others in a PC cafe. Unseo apologizes and informs Kang In that her uncle gave her a card for shopping with him, inviting him to join her. Kang In feels relieved to know that Unseo did not look at the contents of the screen. The scene then shifts to the shopping mart, where Unseo and Kang In have finished shopping for the PC cafe. Unseo is amazed to see Kang In quickly selecting items, while Kang In, on the other hand, is only picking the highest quality items as instructed by John. Unseo is further impressed by how easily Kang In can lift heavy items, such as frying pans. However, Kang In remarks that they are light. Unseo then asks Kang In if they should do more shopping, to which he responds that he cannot since it is his boss's card. However, Unseo reassures him that it is not an issue, as her uncle is the owner of the cafe. As they continue walking, Unseo bumps into a man, causing her to stumble backward. One of the men warns her to walk carefully if she does not want to get hurt. Kang In finds the gazes of the two men quite intimidating. John warns him that the two individuals he is observing are hostile, asking Kang In if it should shift to combat mode, but Kang In does not give any instructions. Meanwhile, Unseo is frightened by their intimidating looks. Tears stream down her face as she apologizes for bumping into them, promising to be extra careful in the future. One of the brothers, realizing they have unintentionally frightened a girl, reassures Unseo that she does not need to worry. He explains that his brother's hostile demeanor was due to being in a bad mood from losing games all day. After Unseo thanks them for forgiving her, the two brothers go their separate ways, while John informs Kang In that the situation is safe since the targets are moving away. As they enter the cafe, Kang In checks on Unseo to ensure she is okay, to which she replies that she was just a little startled. Upon entering the PC cafe, the owner rushes over to Unseo. He informs her that they have an emergency, as their internet connection has suddenly been cut off, resulting in chaos within the cafe. The owner mentions that he has called for help, but it will not arrive for another hour, leaving them to handle the situation on their own. Unseo expresses her concern about how they can resolve such a significant issue, while Kang In, on the other hand, asks John if the disconnection occurred because they accessed the government database, considering the possibility that they might have been traced by a hacker. However, John believes that no one could track them using the security technology from the 2020s. Despite this, Kang In insists that they should still investigate, to which John replies that they need to check the temporary base's server. Kang In then inquires about the server's location, and the owner informs him that it is located at the counter, but he asks Kang In why he is asking about it. Kang In explains that he intends to fix the connection issue and proceeds to walk towards the counter to identify the problem. John begins investigating the problem through the server and concludes that there are no traces of anyone actively tracking them. However, John does find evidence of a hacking attempt. Kang In is puzzled as to why anyone would attempt to hack a PC cafe. John explains that someone may have used the cafe server for testing, noting that a personal data hacking program is installed on the computer. This program clashed with the security software, resulting in the internet outage. Kang In instructs John to locate the hacker, prompting John to trace the hacker's signal. He identifies the hacker's location, revealing that the hacker bounced the signal through 7 servers to avoid detection. John notes that 6 of these locations point to foreign countries, while 1 is situated nearby. Kang In realizes that the hacker must have physically come to install the program, wondering if they are the same individuals he encountered earlier. As Kang In contemplates the identity of the culprit, a customer enters to complain about the internet outage, stating that he was disconnected right in the middle of his promotional match. However, Unseo informs the customer that they will be compensated and that their time will be extended for free. The customer responds that this is the least they should do, as he was about to win his promotional game. Kang In realizes that the customers are frustrated, so he asks John if he has a solution. John suggests that Kang In offer the customers some food, noting that the more underdeveloped the area, the more effective the food tends to be. He provides Kang In with a list of simple battlefield snacks and requests him to select one. Kang In chooses option number 3, to which John responds that it is an excellent choice, as it has the lowest ingredient cost. While Unseo continues to apologize to the customer, Kang In prepares the snack and offers it to him, explaining that it is on the house. He also apologizes for the inconvenience caused by the PC cafe. Kang In wears a professional smile and assures the customer that the internet will not go out again, as the servers have been successfully stabilized. The customer becomes furious, as he believes a side snack cannot compensate for his loss. However, he decides to taste it, warning Kang In that he will not let him go if it turns out poorly. After taking the first bite of the delicious snack Kang In made, the customer falls silent. After a moment, he regains his composure, feeling energized and optimistic about achieving silver rank that day. He is also eager to get a refill of the delicious snack he just had. Unseo, observing how the snack calmed the frustrated customer, wonders if Kang In has added some magic powder to it. After taking a bite herself, she finds that it soothes her soul. Unseo realizes it is a spicy snack, with a hint of sweetness and sourness, which she finds quite amazing. She is curious about how Kang In managed to create such a flavor, but Kang In simply replies that it is nothing special. He just threw some ingredients together. He then informs Unseo that he is going outside to address the internet issue and asks her to distribute the snacks to the affected customers. Additionally, Kang In mentions that he has left some snacks in the kitchen for her and her uncle to enjoy. However, this leads Unseo to conclude that Kang In is the hero of modern times. The scene then shifts to the street, where Kang In is walking toward the hacker's den, the individuals responsible for the attempted breach at their base. John instructs him that they must eliminate the enemy who initiated this attack. Our boy reminds John that this is precisely why they are tracking down the hacker and tells her to lead the way. John activates navigation mode and notes that there are no signs of nearby cameras or external guards. Furthermore, John mentions that there is no tactical detection equipment in the vicinity, which makes Kang In realize that the hacker has made significant efforts to remain hidden. John leads Kang In into one of the buildings, where he hears voices coming from a room. John amplifies the audio for Kang In, filtering out noise and improving sound quality, allowing him to listen attentively to the discussion in the room. Kang In realizes that some individuals are threatening a boy for creating something deemed useless. However, the boy insists that what he produced was a test version, assuring them that everything would proceed smoothly once he fixes the bugs. The man assures the boy that he will give him a lot of money and send him home once he completes the program. However, the boy didn't realize the nature of the job and begins to beg the man not to kill him. John informs our boy that the voice analysis suggests a civilian is being threatened, something our boy had also realized. John tells Kang In that they should evacuate the civilian after rescuing him. Without wasting any time, Kang In forcefully kicks the door open, surprising everyone inside the room. The boy initially thinks Kang In is one of the attackers. The gang leader, asks his subordinate if they had properly locked the door. Unable to understand how an uninvited guest managed to get in, his subordinates assure him that they had tightly secured the door. To make up for the failure, one of them lunges at our boy to throw him out instantly, but ends up getting knocked out by a powerful blow to the chin, further shocking everyone in the room. The boy whom the bad guys were harming is Song-hwan, a first-year student at Korea University. Song-hwan has been interested in computer hacking since he was young, which allowed him to become a skilled white-hat hacker, to the point where even professionals sought his advice. While searching for a part-time job to pay his student loans, Song-hwan received an email offering him $2 million to conduct a security check for a company run by someone they knew. Surprised by the offer, which promised to take only 3 to 4 days but paid as much as a month of part-time work, he felt he had no choice but to accept. Excited to start a job in his field of expertise, he began right away. However, Song-hwan soon realized it was a scam, as the company was not legitimate. Feeling despondent about the possibility of dying before ever experiencing anything meaningful, he prepared himself for the worst. A hero appears in the form of Kang-in, who asks John whether he did the right thing by charging in. John responds that they are currently on a stealth mission, and any enemy that interferes must be eliminated. However, Kang-in is surprised that he managed to knock down a large man with just a kick. John advises Kang-in to be careful, noting that the 2 men he encountered earlier in front of the PC cafe are armed with sharp knives. Still uncertain about his decision to charge in, Kang-in asks John if he should be scared. John reassures him, stating that as a special agent, his body is enhanced, and with John's assistance, Kang-in's chances of victory are 100%. One of the scammers demands to know Kang-in's identity. After ensuring everything is under control, Kang-in replies that he was just passing by and heard someone being beaten, so he came in to stop thugs like them from ganging up on others. The scammers become furious at being called thugs, and one of them rushes at Kang-in with a knife. Meanwhile, John informs Kang-in that he has unintentionally provoked the enemy, intensifying their hostility. Kang-in acted this way because he felt physically safe from their attacks and decided to focus on psychological tactics as well. As one of the scammers prepares to attack, Kang-in kicks upward, knocking the attacker out. Observing his subordinates being taken down one after another, the leader of the scammers decides to confront Kang-in himself, lunging at him with a knife. However, Kang-in effortlessly kicks the leader's head to the ground. Impressed by his own strength and the effectiveness of his kick, Kang-in notices that his movements feel somewhat mechanical. John then explains that in the last fight, Kang-in used a kick 5 times stronger than that of an average person, yet Kang-in perceived it as a light kick. Curious about the source of his strength, he wonders if he is using performance-enhancing substances, but John clarifies that such inefficient methods are not part of Kang-in's strength enhancement. Kang-in also realizes that John has enhanced not only his eyes and ears, but also other parts of his body. Meanwhile, Song-hwan wonders if Kang-in is crazy for muttering to himself for a while, making him question whether Kang-in is communicating through a radio like a policeman, or if the government sent him to catch him since he is a hacker who has committed many illegal acts in the past. Song-hwan becomes anxious as he recalls instances of hacking 5 million mesos. This leads him to blame his past self for those misdeeds. Without wasting any time, Song-hwan tells Kang-in, whom he believes to be a policeman or government officer, that he hasn't done anything wrong, as he was only following orders from those individuals, begging Kang-in to let him go. However, Kang-in finds Song-hwan's behavior strange, as he hasn't even accused him of anything. John, who has been observing Song-hwan for a while, informs Kang-in that there is a 90% probability that Song-hwan is telling the truth, as he is likely a white hat hacker. This makes Kang-in curious whether John is truly capable of distinguishing the truth. John explains that he has a skill for analyzing the facial expressions and behaviors of captives to assess their credibility. The more one corners a captive, the more accurate this ability becomes. However, Kang-in still suspects that Song-hwan is lying, as there remains a 10% chance of deceit. He then asks Song-hwan about his purpose for being there. Song-hwan, who still believes Kang-in is communicating via radio, responds that he was tricked into taking a part-time security job, which has left him stuck there for 3 days. Song-hwan goes on to tell Kang-in that the individuals who hired him are truly malicious, as they have continued to force him into unethical activities even after this job. When Kang-in inquires about the specific nature of the tasks he was compelled to perform, Song-hwan explains that they were pressuring him into stock manipulation, requiring him to create a comment manipulation program for stock forums, which those individuals then installed at nearby PC cafes. Kang-in doubts that those muscleheads are clever enough to conceive such schemes, leading him to conclude that they are likely subcontractors with someone else orchestrating their actions. He realizes there is no need to become further involved, as the scammers are not targeting his temporary base. However, he decides he cannot let them go unpunished and must address the mastermind behind this operation. Therefore, he instructs Song Hwan to report these individuals to the police, as he is unable to do so himself. Kang-in tells Song Hwan to call the police and inform them that he was kidnapped by these individuals, which shocks Song Hwan, who assumed Kang-in was a policeman. Song Hwan warns Kang-in that he might end up in trouble if the police are called, but Kang-in reassures him that nothing will happen, as no one knows who he is due to his mask. He is merely someone who saved Song Hwan after hearing a commotion. Kang-in then gets up to leave, having no intention of waiting for the police. However, Song Hwan asks Kang-in if he can hit the scammers a little. Kang-in responds that there is no need for permission, but Song Hwan expresses concern that they might wake up. Our boy assures him that none of them will regain consciousness and that they will not be able to block Song Hwan's strike, allowing him to hit them as much as he wants. Song Hwan feels encouraged by this and strikes the leader of the scammers in the head. Contrary to Kang-in's assurances, the leader wakes up, shocking both Kang-in and Song Hwan, who let out a startled scream. The police arrive at the crime scene after a while and are startled to discover the culprits brutally beaten. They begin investigating Song Hwan, the only conscious individual present. Song Hwan explains that the scammers had held him in this location for 3 days, beating him and forcing him to create a stock manipulation program. He further mentions that they threatened to kill him if he failed. However, the officer does not understand the reason behind the severe injuries sustained by the criminals and suspects that Song Hwan may be responsible. Song Hwan assures him that he did not harm them. Instead, it was a passerby who heard the commotion and intervened to help him. Like Kang-in, the inspector believes these individuals lack the intelligence to devise a stock manipulation scheme, leading him to suspect that someone else is backing them. He orders that the suspects be interrogated once they regain consciousness in the hospital, hoping they might inadvertently reveal something during questioning while under the influence of medication. However, they are unable to locate the individual who incapacitated the criminals, which raises concerns for the inspector regarding their safety. Nevertheless, his assistant assures him that the criminals will not die, despite having some broken bones, reminding the inspector that it was the criminals who brandished the knives first. The assistant then asks the inspector for further instructions, to which the inspector replies that they should secure the CCTV footage to determine the identity of the individual. He clarifies that there is no need to arrest him. However, it is too significant an incident to overlook without investigation. The scene then shifts to Kang-in, who is walking down the street when John warns him about a security camera up ahead, instructing him to turn right. Kang-in asks John whether he confirmed that the building they entered earlier did not have any CCTV, to which John responds affirmatively, stating that they must thoroughly complete the mission. Kang-in then recalls his surprise at how quickly the scammer recovered after being struck. However, John explains that the quick recovery was a reflex reaction, akin to a knee-jerk response, attributed to their exceptional reflexes. Kang-in then asks John if he has a phone, to which John responds that he does not possess anything like that. Consequently, Kang-in decides to acquire a smartphone through an installment plan since he is broke and cannot afford to pay in full. 3 days had passed since that incident, and Kang-in went to the registered address to gather information about himself the day after rescuing the hacker civilian. The registered location turned out to be an empty, barren field in Gangwon province, with only rumors remaining that it had burned down. This discovery prompts Kang-in to reflect on his identity, pondering whether he was truly communicating with the future or if he was a person from the future who had come to the past. After exhausting all leads in his investigation, Kang-in had no choice but to return empty-handed. Meanwhile, the PC cafe was able to regain its peaceful atmosphere, allowing the business to thrive even more. According to part-timer Yunseo, the cafe is now a must-visit spot, thanks to a certain influencer. However, the cafe's special dish is only served when Kang-in is present, as they make sure not to sell it while he is out gathering information. This strategic sales tactic unexpectedly had a significant effect, resulting in the cafe being filled with customers, regardless of Kang-in's presence. Some patrons come to the cafe solely to enjoy the special dish, while most stay and use the cafe for at least an hour or two. Judging by the expression on the owner Cha Dong-sik's face, It appears that he has had to hire more part-timers, as the number of customers has not diminished at all. Kong In is surprised when he spots Songhua, the civilian he rescued from captivity 3 days ago. Dong-sik notices that Songhua is studying computer science, to which Songhua responds that he has been skilled with computers for a long time. He also offers to repair any computers that malfunction in the cafe, which makes Dong-sik happy, as he now has 2 reliable part-timers. Meanwhile, Yunseo hopes her uncle considers her one of the reliable ones as well. The reason Songhua applied for a position here was that he felt guilty for causing damage to the PC cafe. Even though he was forced to do it, Songhua decides to work hard in the cafe with a heart full of remorse. Dong-sik then introduces Kong In to Songhua, explaining that this cafe has become a famous spot thanks to Kong In. Dong-sik further adds that, although Kong In works as a chef, he is also skilled with computers, so he encourages both of them to help each other and get along. Songhua gazes at Kong In for a while, making Kong In wonder if he recognizes him. However, Songhua breaks the silence by asking Kong In if he is older than him, to which Kong In responds that he is indeed older. Songhua then introduces himself, requesting Kong In to take care of him, and shakes hands with him. However, John warns Kong In that working with the person he rescued could jeopardize his cover, recommending that Kong In ask Dong-sik to fire him. Kong In, however, finds it harsh to have Songhua fired when he is already calling him older brother. The scene then shifts to Seoul City, where Kong In is returning after his daily shopping, while John double-checks the items Kong In has bought, making sure they don't leave anything behind. John verifies that they have purchased all the required items and keeps the receipt safe. This makes Kong In realize that John is extremely meticulous about money and food. However, John suddenly starts generating random words, leading Kong In to wonder if the bot has malfunctioned. While Kong In finds John's money management and danger detection helpful, he believes that the real joy lies in simply enjoying food, something he thinks John will also agree with, as they conducted taste tests while buying sauces. As Kong In teases John, John issues a warning about a fire hazard. However, Kong In sees nothing even remotely related to that, causing him to believe that John is pretending to change the subject. John insists that it isn't a malfunction. Unable to spot any signs of fire, Kong In concludes that John is lying. Just as they are engaged in this back and forth, a blast occurs in one of the buildings, and a fire breaks out, engulfing multiple floors at once. People scream for help, wishing for someone who can save their lives. Kong In is shocked to see real fire, but he reassures himself that there is nothing to worry about because his body is equipped with combat AI support. His eyes feature augmented reality technology, and his ears contain auxiliary modules. Additionally, the enhanced strength in his legs enables him to extinguish a fire like this in one shot. With this confidence, he takes a fighting stance to launch a fire-extinguishing beam, only to embarrass himself in front of a child who is just passing by. John asks Kong In if he is thinking clearly, prompting Kong In to remember that he does not possess a fire-extinguishing beam. John muses that if Kong In had something like that, or a freezing ray, he wouldn't be considered human. Realizing he lacks such abilities, Kong In asks John about the easiest way to put out a fire. John suggests calling a fire truck, as it is currently the quickest way to extinguish the flames. While they wait for the fire truck, Kong In notices a girl trapped on the roof of the building, crying for help. He uses John to determine that it will take at least 4 minutes for the truck to arrive, during which time the fire is likely to reach the roof. If they do not act swiftly, there is a 99% chance that the girl will lose her life. John identifies a route from outside the building that avoids the toxic gases, as entry from within the building is impossible. Meanwhile, bystanders think Kong In is crazy for attempting to save those trapped in the fire. Kong In learns through John that there are no people left inside the building, as they most likely evacuated right after the explosion. This knowledge allows Kong In to climb without worry, while onlookers marvel at his climbing abilities. John warns Kong In of an impending explosion, prompting him to secure his grip tightly and appreciate his exceptional grip strength, even as he ignores the advance warning from John. Kong In reaches the roof unscathed and successfully rescues the girl just before the fire spreads. She thanks her savior for rescuing her from this unbelievably dangerous situation. However, another explosion occurs nearby, prompting John to alert Kong In about the increased rate at which the fire is spreading. This poses a danger to Kong In, as their chances of survival diminish. Kong In expresses curiosity about whether they are truly going to die, shocking the girl, who believed he was there to save her. He reassures her that he is merely calculating their options. Kong and then asks John if he should use his enhanced abilities to jump to another building while carrying the girl. However, John advises against this course of action, explaining that it would expose Kong and supernatural abilities to the public, making it more difficult for him to live discreetly. While Kong believes that any option is better than dying, he ultimately decides to heed John's advice and asks whether they should use the clothesline hanging from the roof to escape the building. John rejects this idea as well, pointing out that the lower parts of the building are blocked by fire, rendering all directions unsafe for movement. Kong then suggests tying the clothesline to the next building and performing a tightrope crossing. John agrees but acknowledges the girl's concern, as she finds the idea of tightrope walking at such a height to be reckless. Kong reassures her that he will handle the crossing and encourages her to simply assist him. John explains that securing the rope will help Kong maintain his balance while on the line and adds that Kong should throw the ropes across once they are tied together. However, Kong believes it would be more effective for John to control the throw, but John cannot take control of that action, as throwing motions are akin to attacks. Kong finds it amusing that this AI bot can cook food, but cannot perform a simple action like throwing. He decides to throw the rope himself, asking John to help him make fine adjustments. The clothesline rope securely attaches to the other building, prompting Kong to grab the girl, who is whining, and begin walking on the tightrope. This act amazes some onlookers, while others are frightened by the daring feat and suggest stacking something below them, as a fall could be fatal. Kong asks John if they are moving at a good speed, to which John replies that they are moving at optimal speed. However, the girl pleads with Kong to go as slowly as possible. As the girl continues to whine for him to slow down, John detects an unexpected situation and warns Kong that the rope is breaking faster than originally anticipated. Kong questions how much time they have before the rope breaks, and John responds that it will snap before they can make it to the other side of the building. Kong having gotten much closer to the next building, Kong suddenly experiences severe wobbling in the rope as it continues to break. To ensure that the girl reaches the next building safely, he throws her onto the roof of the adjacent structure, ultimately saving her life. However, just as he throws the girl to the other side, John issues a warning that the rope has snapped, causing the already unbalanced Kong to fall. Falling from the building, Kang's high-level model, Giant, tries to calculate how to save him from falling to his death. While descending, Kong notices a rope falling from the terrace. He wonders what he should do, then grabs the rope with all his might and pushes off the wall to reach the other side, running along it with the help of the rope. People on the road look up and see that Kong is actually still alive and running along the building walls. Kong finally reaches the terrace and strikes a heroic landing pose. He appears exhausted and frightened, believing that he was done for. After that, Kong climbs the stairs to reach the top terrace and asks the purple-haired girl if she is all right. The purple-haired girl becomes very scared after hearing Kang's voice, yelling that he is a ghost. With a straight face, Kong confirms that he is still alive and tells her to come down because it's dangerous up there. She descends from the upper terrace, panicking, and asks how Kong is still alive even though he fell from the terrace, wondering if he is a superhuman. Without giving it much thought, Kong replies that it's something like that. After coming down, she curiously asks why Kong is speaking so informally to her and whether he knows her. Hearing that, Kong replies that it's because she looks young. Ignoring his answer, she asks if Kong happens to be a fan of hers. Kong wonders who the girl is and turns around, looking very annoyed, asking Giant why she has been wrong so often lately. Even though Giant said she was part of the strategic special forces, so Kong trusted her. Giant confirms that she also didn't know that flammable materials were used on the building's exterior. This irritates Kong even more, prompting him to question whether her uncertainty helps at all. The purple-haired girl walks toward Kong, asking if he is the internet cafe chef. Kong is shocked to hear that and wonders how she knows. Soon after, the fire brigade and police officers arrive at the scene to control the fire. The scene then shifts to two police officers watching a video, amazed by how the person in the footage managed to connect the rope to the ledge and cross over to the rooftop while also carrying someone. The other officer comments that maybe the person in the video is a famous rock climber or a tightrope expert, but neither of them knows for sure. They have only one clue: a plastic bag. If the person had saved someone, they probably used both their hands and feet, so if they were carrying a plastic bag, they would have had to put it down. Therefore, there might be a possibility that the rope master left it behind to help the other person. The plastic bag is filled with sauces used for cooking. The police officers also find a receipt inside, but it's wet and torn, making it hard to read. They check the receipt and, luckily, find that the store name is still visible, so they decide to review the CCTV footage. One officer asks if they really need to check the CCTV since the rope person isn't a criminal. He adds that if it's just an electrical issue or a gas leak, it's not even their department's case. Right after he says that, the other officer receives a phone call from their office. He puts it on speaker and asks what's going on. The person on the phone says that the team leader is asking why they're on the line. The officer in the brown jacket replies that it's because the team leader is always interrupting their vacation time. Ignoring the remark, the caller informs them that they're in serious trouble. Hearing that, the brown-jacketed officer replies that they're always in serious trouble and asks if it's not just a short circuit or gas leak, but arson. The caller replies that they don't know yet, but that's not the main issue. The real problem is that one death has been reported on the third floor. Both officers become anxious because they thought there were no casualties. The brown-jacketed officer tells the caller that he will start by looking for the tightrope master. The scene then shifts to Kong and the purple-haired girl, who comes out of the shop after taking a good bath, feeling refreshed. Kong also comes out, saying that not only did she survive thanks to him, but now she's asking him to pay for her bath as well. He asks if she has no shame. Acting innocently, she replies that her house was completely burned down and asks if he doesn't feel sorry for her. She explains that she doesn't have parents, is all alone, and has no place to stay tonight. Kong instinctively replies that he is alone too. She starts rolling her hair, saying that she really meant it when she said she is alone, and that she also took out a student loan to register for college and was planning to slowly work part-time. Then she shouts, saying that now she doesn't know how she is going to survive. Kong reminds her that she said she would work part-time, so she needs to go to work then. She shakes her head, saying how she can't do that right now, and then remembers that the internet cafe where Kong works is hiring part-timers. Kong hears that and immediately starts walking away, telling her goodbye. She tries to stop him and continues asking him to help her get a job there. Kong tells her to go talk with the internet cafe's boss because he is also just a part-timer there. Hearing that, she suggests going together and handing over their resumes. It makes him very angry, but left with no choice, he gives up and then asks how she recognized him. Hearing that, she reveals it's because she always goes to that internet cafe because of her job. Kong wonders what that job is, since she just said she was jobless. She reveals that she is a somewhat popular game streaming personality. In truth, the viewers usually send her money telling her to quit the game. Since she doesn't have a computer at home, she streams from the internet cafe. Kong asks her if she is pretty, and she responds by asking if she isn't pretty. Ignoring that, Kong asks if she is good at games, to which she replies that she is not good at all. Then Kong asks how many subscribers she has. She reveals that she has around 30 subscribers. Hearing all that, Kong agrees to take her to submit their resumes. She happily goes with him to the internet cafe, where Eun Seo greets Kong, asking why he is so late. She notices the girl standing next to Kong and asks about her. The purple-haired girl introduces herself as Yunarum, the new part-timer, but Kong confirms that she isn't the part-timer yet. Then Eun Seo asks why Kong is empty-handed even though he said he was going to buy sauces. Kong informs her that he lost them while watching the fire. Hearing that, she realizes Kong went to see the fire nearby and smiles, saying that Kong was so excited about the fire that he lost his things, which might have been taken by someone else now. Hearing that, Kong tells her to cut it from his wages. Jian suddenly alerts Kong, reporting that based on her analysis of Kang's field of view, there is a high chance that many people filmed the fire incident, so they need to search the internet and gather information. After that, Kong starts walking, and Yoon meets with the owner of the internet cafe, introducing herself as the new part-timer. Meanwhile, Jian shows the footage to Kong that she found from the scene, which has been recorded multiple times. Because the incident is a hot topic, it is receiving a lot of reactions and spreading quickly online. Kong says that it will be alright if Jian deletes all those videos from the internet. Jian replies that she doesn't have such hacking skills. Sitting at the computer, Kong asks why she doesn't have those skills, and Jian replies that she is a combat support artificial intelligence. Kong comments that she hacked something last time too, but Jian replies that it was only for identity manipulation. Kong tells Jian that's useless since he already has an identity. Trying to win his favor, she says that she has military-grade hacking defense skills, but there is no hacker attack at the moment, so she can't demonstrate them. Kong asks if she really can't delete the videos, and Jian confirms that it's correct. The scene then shifts to a police officer who is standing outside the internet cafe after finding out that the tightrope master is there. Meanwhile, in the PC room, Giant informs Kong that she failed to find any information regarding the Earth Alliance and the Strategic Special Forces again today. Lying on the bed, Kong wonders if there might be someone connected to the year 2082, but he guesses there isn't. Giant replies that there is a possibility they are hiding their identities like Kong and Giant. Kong also confirms that it could be true. Giant has verified several claims about people coming from the future, but none of them are credible. Kong reads a post from someone claiming to have come back after 50 years and is now in 2024. Kong sits on the bed, saying he told her it's 2024. Despite that, Giant says her existence cannot be explained by the technology of 2024. Kong also believes that it is impossible with current technology to implement artificial intelligence into a human body. But Kong asks what they can do because, no matter how they look at it, it is 2024. Then Kong asks Giant about what happened to the burning building yesterday. After browsing through the internet, Giant informs Kong that one person was found dead at the scene. Kong is very surprised and asks if it was his fault or if he missed someone. Giant confirms that it was not their fault because the deceased was found in the room they passed by while climbing the outer wall of the building yesterday. Hearing that, Kong asks if they didn't see him, even though Giant has infrared vision or something like that. Giant corrects Kong, saying that AR lenses are augmented reality devices, not infrared vision devices. Kong asks if Giant knows that she is surprisingly clumsy. Kong then turns off his mobile phone, saying that there was absolutely no sign of anyone in that room. Giant also confirms that there were no signs of movement or any noise detected in the surrounding area. Hearing that, Kong wonders if it means that the person might have already been dead. All the pieces come together. Giant also confirms that there might be a high chance of that too. While talking with Giant, Kong hears Unseo welcoming the police to the internet cafe. Kong startles upon hearing that and looks at the closed door to listen to the voices. The police officer is talking with her, saying that the card used to purchase those items belongs to this internet cafe, and then he asks if she bought them from that convenience store. Seeing the plastic bag, Unseo recognizes it and immediately calls Kong. The police officer asks if she knows the person who bought it. Kong comes outside, and she explains to him that the police officer brought the seasonings that Kong lost while watching the fire yesterday. The police officer is very surprised to hear that and feels disappointed because Kong had just left them behind while watching the fire. She happily compliments the country's police for being amazing since they even track down the owners of small items and return them. The police officer nervously agrees with her. Kong thanks the police officer, and then the officer hands over his business card to Kong, saying that if he has any information about the incident that day, he should contact him. After saying that, the police officer leaves the internet cafe, and she happily says goodbye to him. Kong reads the details on the card, thinking that they might need the detective's help to catch the culprit. So he asks Giant if he can go meet him. Giant replies that Kong has a confirmed identity, so it is safe for him to meet the detective. Unseo comes closer to Kong, asking if he has errands outside today because she wants to work with him and get closer. Ignoring her, Kong listens to Giant, who tells him that it would be beneficial to get acquainted with the local police for future operations. Without realizing it, Kong speaks out loud that he will get closer. Unseo misunderstands and happily asks if they will be working together today. Kong doesn't understand what she means and denies it, saying that he has errands today and has to leave. Unseo gets confused hearing this and thinks to herself that Kong is really hard to understand. After that, Kong reaches the police station, and in the detective department room, he meets the police officer, who immediately recognizes Kong as the owner of the envelope from earlier. Kong confirms that he is that person. The police officer laughs loudly, saying that Kong didn't need to come to return something just because they had given back a lost item, and then he notices that Kong is actually empty-handed. Kong reveals that he didn't come to the police station for that. The police officer seems disappointed but asks the reason Kong came. Kong reveals that he thinks yesterday's fire incident was actually a murder. The police officer is startled to hear that but exhales, saying that it is worth suspecting since there was a fatality, but they are still investigating it. The police officer doesn't believe Kong and asks if he has any evidence, adding that when a civilian makes a random guess, it can confuse the investigation. Kong informs him that he didn't see anyone moving in the room when he went up the tightrope. The police officer sips his tea casually, but all the officers in the room become very shocked after realizing what Kong just said. The police officer shouts, saying that Kong is the tightrope master from yesterday. Kong makes a thumbs-up pose upon hearing that. Nervously, the police officer asks Kong why he didn't say so earlier. Kong replies that it's because the police officer didn't ask. The officer says that's too much and then asks how on earth Kong did it. He climbed up like carried someone on the rope and then ran along the wall. Acting coldly, Kong says that doesn't seem like the point right now. The police officer also realizes that Kong is right. The officer seems very excited after meeting the tightrope master, Kong, and tells him to explain again why he suspects it's a murder. Kong explains that there was no movement in that room, even though the fire was burning. So the victim was either already dead or might have been intoxicated. The police officer asks if Kong is suggesting that someone set the building on fire to cover up the murder. Kong confirms that and continues, saying that yesterday, he confirmed there were no survivors as he ascended the building. Another police officer arrives and asks Detective Park if the National Forensic Service has contacted them yet. The officer notices the tightrope master and looks at him curiously. Detective Park replies that there has been no contact yet since it takes time to perform an autopsy, and the fire was so intense that they said nothing significant might come out of it. A female police officer also arrives, informing Detective Park that they just received word that the fire was most likely caused by an electrical short circuit. Acting calmly, Detective Park asks if she checked the CCTV footage. She confirms that she tried, but there wasn't a single camera in the area. They wonder what to do next and suggest making a sketch. Hearing that, Kong asks Jian if she remembers the faces of the people they saw yesterday. Jian recalls them and confirms that she has also stored the visual information she collected before the fire. Then she asks if she should replay it. Kong gives her permission to play it. The video starts, and Kong tells Detective Park that he saw 4 people walking from the direction of the building yesterday. Kong continues explaining that the first person came out of the alley beside the building. He was holding a phone in his right hand and talking on it. That person had a bracelet on his left wrist, and his shirt was a reddish checkered pattern with 2 buttons missing. The phone case was gray, and the shirt underneath was white. Hearing such detailed information, Detective Park compliments Kang's accuracy, saying it's like he's describing it right in front of him, though Kong really is describing it from right in front of him. After that, Kong describes the second person and then the third person. After hearing that information, Detective Park suggests that Kong help them create a sketch so they can capture the details before the memory fades. But the problem is that their sketch artist is out at the moment, so Kong might have to wait a bit. Kong confirms that he can draw it himself. He goes to the printer to get a sheet of white paper. Detective Park asks if Kong is good at drawing too, and Kong replies that he is just decent, while in his mind, he admits that Jian is really good at it. After that, Kong grabs a pen to start drawing and asks Jian if she can capture the 3 suspects and project them into his vision. Jian responds by showing the projection of the 3 suspects in Kang's view, making him instruct her to zoom in a bit more and enhance the quality. After that, he tells Jian to project it onto the paper and keeps giving her instructions. Kong doesn't notice that he is speaking out loud, and seeing that makes the police officers very startled, causing them to ask each other if Kong is talking to himself or just acting strange. After finally adjusting, Kong decides to draw each one and starts sketching. After he finishes drawing the suspects' pictures, the police officers come to take a look, but it turns out that the drawings are not very good at all. Kong immediately starts crumpling the paper in his hand and laughs, saying that it was just a sketch warm-up. Both police officers stay silent and only reply that Kong is right. Anxiously, Kong instructs Jian that she should be the one drawing it. Jian confirms that she can only move if Kong grants her temporary control. Kong decides to grant control to Jian while complaining that she is not very flexible. Meanwhile, one of the police officers asks why Detective Park said that Kong could draw. Detective Park replies that he has no idea either and picks up his phone to contact the montage expert. But both of them are startled by the beam of light coming from the drawing Kong just redid, and they are shocked to see the outstanding drawing Kong is creating. It looks so realistic that they exclaim in surprise, saying it seems as if the sketch was made by a machine. All the other officers also gather around, asking if Kong is a genius and if painting is his main career. Hearing that, Jian speaks up, saying that Kang's actual career is being a special agent for the Earth Federation. This makes Kong tell Jian in his mind that she doesn't need to answer that. Then Kong shows all 3 sketches, explaining that there were only 3 people who left the alley before the fire, so if the arsonist escaped, it would have to be one of them. All the officers in the detective department are amazed, and one of the officers stomps on the wall, instructing everyone to begin searching for their identities right away and to investigate them all. They immediately start carrying out their team leader's orders. The next day, Kong prepares food for his coworkers, and all of them enjoy it very much, even asking for seconds. While eating, Unseo tells Yoon about yesterday's fire, revealing that it was not an accident but an act of arson. Yoon is shocked to hear that. The owner also confirms that, according to the news, they have already arrested the person responsible. Yoon is surprised again, and the owner continues, explaining that the police also found some illegal substances, called X-drugs, on the culprit. Kong, who is washing the dishes and overhearing their conversation, starts thinking about how quickly things are moving. It hasn't even been a day since the police got involved. Then Kong looks at his hand, wondering if it might be because of his all-knowing ability. Kong receives a phone call from Detective Park while Yoon and the others continue chatting. Kong answers and greets Detective Park, who happily tells him that, thanks to Kong, they caught the criminal. Two of the people in the montage were locals, but the other one wasn't from the neighborhood, and it turns out he was also a friend of the victim. Detective Park explains that they are still investigating the exact cause of death, but what's more troubling is that they found X-drugs in the suspect's wallet as well. Kong tells Detective Park that he has already heard about that. Detective Park continues, saying it seems the suspect went there to borrow money for his addiction, but when he couldn't get it, he harmed the victim. Then Detective Park asks if Kong knows what's even more surprising and reveals that when they tracked down and raided the people selling the X-drugs, something very unexpected happened. Detective Park asks if Kong knows the actor Jang Gun, who was also present during the raid. Because of that, the entire entertainment industry is now in chaos. Kong simply replies, because he doesn't know who the actor Jang Gun is. Kong then comments that the case seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Detective Park agrees, saying that now his vacation is over, but thanks to the montage Kong drew, the case moved 100 times faster. Detective Park adds that he was wondering if they could make the montage public. Hearing that, Giant immediately informs Kong that involvement with the public might interfere with his special mission as an agent, but Kong believes that it doesn't mean he has to live completely hidden away. Kong tells Detective Park that it would be fine as long as his name isn't mentioned as the artist. Detective Park likes the idea very much, saying that it feels just like a hero who refuses to reveal their identity. Yoon, Unseo, and the owner also notice Kong talking to Detective Park and start listening in on their conversation. Kong replies that he only did what he had to do. Detective Park agrees, saying he understands and will leave it at that, again thanking Kong for his help. Totally curious, all three of them ask what that was all about. Unseo asks if Kong drew something for Detective Park. Kong replies that he just drew a little scribble. She compliments Kong, saying that he must have done a bad job if he doesn't want them to reveal his name. All three of them laugh after saying that, and Kong tells them to think whatever they want. Suddenly, they hear a crashing sound coming from the internet room. It turns out that one of the customers spilled ramen again, just like in the previous incident. The other customer gets very upset because the same thing happened once more. Unseo also seems irritated by that customer spilling ramen again. And then the owner instructs the rookie, Yoon, to go clean it up. She happily runs to clean it, closing her eyes for a moment while wondering if she should ask the owner for a bonus since she's cleaning up ramen. But she suddenly bumps into a customer wearing a green shirt, and they both fall to the ground. Yoon gets very worried and asks the customer if he's okay, but the customer cries out in pain that his wrist hurts, then angrily tells Yoon to be more careful and watch where she's going. Seeing that the customer's wrist seems to hurt badly, Yoon immediately apologizes again and asks if he's seriously injured. The customer replies that it feels like his wrist might be broken. Yoon becomes even more anxious and starts tearing up, wondering what she should do and whether she should call for emergency help, but she can't even figure out which number to dial for which situation. Seeing all that, Kong asks if the customer is sure his wrist is broken. Giant analyzes the situation and replies that, based on the movement of the hand, there is a possibility of a fracture, but to confirm the injury, Kong needs to gently feel the area and observe the customer's reaction. Kong decides to check and asks the customer if he can touch the area to examine it. The customer, recognizing Kong as the chef, agrees to let him take a look. Kong carefully grabs the hand and presses lightly, making the customer confirm that it hurts. Giant analyzes, confirming that there's no damage to the bone, just a sprained wrist. Kong tells the customer that he's completely fine because it's only a minor sprain. Hearing that, the customer asks why it still hurts so much. Kong assures him that he can help relieve the pain a bit and begins applying gentle pressure to ease it. The customer soon starts feeling much better. Unseo says that she feels like she should hurt herself too, so she can get a massage from Kong. And even the owner compliments Kong, saying he's good at massages as well. Giant informs Kong that it will take about 24 hours for the wrist to recover, and if the customer strains it, the injury could worsen. Kong instructs the customer not to do any heavy lifting until tomorrow and warns that if he does, it might only make things worse. The customer becomes worried about his work, saying that he has to cook in Gangwon-do tomorrow. Hearing that, Yoon, who is still cleaning the spilled ramen, asks if the customer is a chef. The customer replies that he cooks for a catering truck, and the film crew has an urgent extra shoot, so his catering service was hired at the last minute. Excitedly, Yoon volunteers to come and help him. The customer asks if she knows how to cook, and she proudly replies that she's good at making ramen and can even prepare 7 bowls at once. The customer gets frustrated hearing that and sighs, saying that no matter how urgent it is, they can't just serve ramen there. But it would be different if someone who's truly skilled at cooking could help. After that, the customer looks at Kong with hopeful eyes. Giant tells Kong that the customer's expression is practically shouting what he wants to ask, and she suggests Kong just respond. Kong stays silent for a moment but politely declines, saying that he already has a part-time job. The customer then offers to pay Kong 300,000 won if he agrees to help out. Without thinking twice, Kong agrees to take the job. After accepting the job, Kong confirms if he just needs to cook rice and side dishes. The customer confirms it and happily says it's an honor. Then the customer reveals that he actually came there because he heard that this internet cafe has great food. When he tried it for the first time, it tasted so good that he has been coming there every day since then. He thought maybe he would learn something from eating there often, but if Chef Kong helps him with the catering truck, then he might be able to pick up a tip or two, so it's really an honor for him. The customer laughs loudly, commenting that life really is full of twists and turns. Kong then tells Giant that they have finished their work in this area, so it's time to start investigating other regions. Giant also confirms that Kong can earn his mission expenses while working the catering job and investigating on the side. Honestly, both Giant and Kong seem more interested in money than the mission itself. The next morning, Kong is traveling in the catering truck with the black-haired man. It turns out that Kong is the one driving the truck. The black-haired man is amazed, saying that Kong is a really good driver and that he never knew his vehicle could run so smoothly. Kong replies that he's just alright at it. In reality, Giant is the one controlling the driving, but the black-haired man has no idea. The black-haired man says that today, he hopes to leave a great impression on the actors and staff with some delicious food, and again thanks Kong for helping out. Kong tells him not to mention it, though in truth, it's Giant who is assisting behind the scenes. The black-haired man then asks Kong if he heard the news about the actor who was caught yesterday at the X-Drugs party. Kong confirms that he has, and the black-haired man continues, saying that the place they're heading to is where that actor had been filming his movie. The movie's release was scheduled for about a week from now. Hearing that, Kong asks if the movie is still going to be released. The black-haired man shakes his head, saying that no one is going to pay to watch a movie featuring an actor involved in a drug scandal. So now the production team is scrambling to reshoot the entire thing. The black-haired man doesn't mind, since it means more work for him, but the atmosphere on set will likely be intense. Not only that, they're reshooting all the scenes with that actor, so everyone is stressed out. Hearing this, Kong asks if they can't just delay the release. The black-haired man explains that the situation is tricky because they've already booked many theaters, and if they delay the schedule, they'll lose those slots and the film company could face huge losses. He adds that he doesn't know all the details, but the director is probably having a very difficult time. After that, the black-haired man asks Kong if he knows the director, Sun Tae-min, who is one of the top directors in Korean romance films, so he thinks it will probably work out somehow. The scene then shifts to the director and looks extremely anxious and frustrated, saying that everything is ruined. The director doesn't like the current scene, so the person standing next to him suggests that they should reshoot it. However, the director replies that they cannot reshoot because there's no time left, so they'll just have to settle for this poor version. The director feels helpless, believing that because of that actor's actions, the entire movie will be ruined. He angrily exclaims that if he ever meets that person again, he'll give him a serious scolding. The person standing next to the director tells him to calm down, reminding him that it's not good for a director to lose his temper on set. Another crew member runs up to inform the director that the catering truck has arrived. The assistant suggests that they should eat and clear their heads because all the staff are exhausted as well. Hearing about food only irritates the director more, and he shouts, asking if he looks like someone who can eat properly right now. He adds that if this movie fails, they'll be in financial trouble, and he won't even be able to afford the catering truck for the day. He orders the worker to tell the catering chef to leave. Despite his frustration, the crew convinces him to at least try the food, leaving him with no choice. To his surprise, the director ends up really liking the flavor. He admits that he wasn't in the mood to eat, yet the food tastes amazing. One of the workers jokes, asking if the chef put something special in it to make it taste that good. The director tells him to stop making silly comments and says that it must be a healthy herbal recipe. The worker then informs the director that the usual catering chef hurt his wrist, so a chef he knew came to help out. The new chef is not only highly skilled, but also quite young. The worker then suggests the director try to think positively, saying that at least the scenery is beautiful since they're filming in the mountains. The worker tries his best to lift the director's gloomy mood. The director finally comments that they should be grateful the other actors didn't cause any problems. Just after he says that, another worker shouts at the director because there has been an accident. Both of them are shocked to hear it. A brown-haired woman arrives, informing the director that the action stunt double has twisted their ankle after stepping the wrong way. Her name is Shin Yunha. The director hurries over to see the stunt double, who is in severe pain. The director arrives, and the stunt double apologizes to him, saying he should have been more careful. They shout for someone to call 911 immediately, but they are worried that the ambulance might not be able to reach so far up in the mountains. Then the director asks if anyone knows emergency first aid and can help, but no one in his team has that knowledge. The director becomes very shocked, thinking they are truly doomed now, and yells in frustration. Kong and the black-haired man hear the director's voice, and the black-haired man wonders if the movie is cursed or something. He then asks Kong if he can treat the injured person like he treated him back at the internet cafe. Giant also informs Kong that with proper field emergency treatment, stabilizing the ankle can help reduce pain and aid recovery. Hearing that the ankle is twisted, Kong decides to help. He goes over and asks the stunt double to let him take a look. Seeing this, all the workers nearby start whispering about Kong. Kong kneels to examine the ankle and tells the director that he will only perform first aid, but the director must send the stunt double to the hospital immediately afterward. The director, startled, agrees and begs Kong to do something about it. After that, Kong calls out to Yunha, a staff member. She is shocked to hear him call her that, but ignoring the minor detail, Kong asks Yunha to quickly get him a compression bandage. Yunha seems taken aback, but before she can react, the director shouts at her to hurry and fetch it. She immediately agrees and goes to get it, though she feels annoyed at Kong for calling her a staff member. Yunha is actually an actress, though only in a supporting role. After that, she angrily hands the compression bandage to Kong, who thanks her. She steps aside, still irritated, but suddenly hears shouts from the injured stunt double and anxiously looks over. Giant informs Kong that the injured person has severely sprained his ankle, but the condition doesn't seem as serious as first expected. Giant then tells Kong that the first aid is complete. Yunha comes closer again to take a look and asks Kong if the stunt double is going to be alright. The stunt double confirms that he is, saying he's amazed because when he first got hurt, it felt like he was going to die. He even feels like he could move already. The director becomes very pleased to hear that and starts crying in relief. But Kong explains that despite the improvement, the stunt double cannot film any scenes yet because the treatment is only temporary. Until he fully recovers, it will be difficult for him to walk on that ankle. Hearing this, the director faints, and a nearby worker catches him, telling him to get a grip. The man wearing a cap suggests that they should just call another stunt double. The director replies that it will be very difficult to find someone who resembles Kim Yoo-chan in both appearance and build, and to bring them all the way to the deep mountains of Gangwon province. Not only that, but the new stunt double would also need time to practice the scenes. This makes the director very frustrated, and he curses again, saying that if they miss the release date, they're finished. The man with the cap then suggests having the actor Kim Yoo-chan perform the action scenes himself. Yoo-chan blinks and says he'll do it if they ask him to. But the director worries that Yoo-chan might get hurt as well. Since he's quite clumsy, it wouldn't just end with a twisted ankle, and if that happens, their entire movie would be ruined. The man with the cap then suggests choosing one of the staff members to fill in as a stand-in. They might make it work if the person wears a mask and sunglasses. Hearing this, the director asks if any staff members are willing to give it a try, but no one volunteers. This makes the director even more worried and sad. He looks up and asks why fate is giving him so much suffering, praying that he doesn't even care if he has to pay triple the amount. He would give anything if only someone could send down an action double right now. Hearing the payment amount, Kong replies that the one sent by fate is already here. Kong confirms that he is just kidding, but he thinks he can do it. Yunha, realizing that, becomes very angry that a random catering truck worker is trying to be a stunt double, so she instantly says she is against it. She tells the director that no matter how desperate the situation is, they can't have an ordinary chef be part of the team. However, the director doesn't hear what Yunha is saying because he has realized that Kong really does look a bit like Kim Yu-chan. The director's eyes start sparkling with excitement, and he asks Kong if he has any physical skills. Kong confirms that he does. Yunha and the man with the cap are still against the idea, but the director ignores them and asks Kong if he can help out because they truly don't have time. He assures Kong that they will apply some makeup, and even if the result is a little rough, he can fix it later with CGI. Kong decides to take the job if the pay is triple. Hearing that, the director happily agrees and decides to start filming immediately. After hearing that decision, Yunha and the man with the cap start crying, thinking that the movie is doomed. Then the director explains the scene they are about to shoot. It's where the main lead, Kim Yu-chan, has to save the supporting actress, Yunha. Hearing that explanation makes Yunha very angry, commenting that there is no need to emphasize the word supporting actress. The director continues explaining the scene. The original villain actor in this scene was the same one involved in the recent controversy, which is why they are in such a rush and have to reshoot everything. The director instructs Kong to listen carefully to the stand-in actor and practice with him for a while. Kong agrees, and the stand-in actor begins explaining Kang's actions during the shoot. However, Kong comments that it would be very awkward if every move is completely pre-planned. One of the trio of supporting actors replies that it might be true, but this is the simplest choreography they have. Yu-chan also tells Kong that they've already rehearsed it, so they can't change the movements now. Jian then informs Kong that this is not how proper filming should be done. Jian has experience with filming techniques used for training manuals. Kong wonders if such a skill really exists. Jian continues explaining that the method requires more practical movements, so Kong suggests that instead of performing a pre-planned stunt, the supporting trio should attack him for real. This shocks all three of them, and Kong continues, telling them to attack him as if it were a real fight. He assures them that he will handle it properly so that the scene looks more realistic on camera. The supporting trio becomes very nervous and seem against the idea. Yunha watches Kong and the trio closely. The supporting actors are worried that someone might get hurt and insist they must be careful because the movie's success depends on them. Watching all this, Yunha sighs in frustration and, with an annoyed expression, taunts Kong, saying that he knows nothing about filming. In truth, she is still sulking because Kong didn't realize she is an actress, not a staff member. After changing into his costume for the shoot, Kong calls out to the director and asks if they can film the scene in one take without any cuts. The director is startled to hear that, so Kong explains that he plans to go straight into the action without rehearsal. That way, they can save time. The director has no issue with it as long as it goes well, but he still wonders if it will be possible. Kong tells the director to trust him, and to trust in the power of triple pay. Hearing that, Jian replies that her name is John Jian, not triple pay. After that, Kong starts walking and tells the director that they will go straight through without interruptions. The director seems nervous and dazed, but soon his instincts as a top-tier director tell him that Kong is trustworthy. They start filming, going with the flow. Yunha yells for help while the three supporting actors approach her, laughing wickedly. They deliver their scripted lines. In the next part of the scene, Kong kicks the door open in an action stance and jumps to land near the supposed enemies, the supporting trio. They are startled by Kang's athletic jump, but continue with the script. They remember that Kong told them to attack for real, but since they still need to act, two of them charge toward him. Jian informs Kong that she will guide him on where to dodge, and says she will pre-mark the anticipated punches. Kong follows her instructions, moving left to avoid the hit. As he keeps dodging, he notices that his body reacts even before Jian gives her guidance. Jian then instructs Kong to grab his opponent by the collar to get the best shot on camera. Kong does as told and grabs the opponent by the collar, which makes the actor confused since that wasn't part of the script. Jian then informs Kong that camera 3 will capture the best angle of the scene. Kong lifts his opponent into the air, shocking Yunha and the other two actors. Kong starts performing fast, controlled moves, and Yunha and the others are stunned, wondering if he's improvising too realistically. After taking care of the first opponent, Kong turns to the second one, who nervously begs him to stick to the script. The closer Kong approaches, the more terrified the actor becomes. Kang's punch lands, and the actor immediately falls to the ground. The last supporting actor, now standing alone, becomes frightened because none of this was in the original script, and he wonders why the director isn't calling for a cut. In the end, he decides to go with the flow and attacks Kang. Seeing that, Kang dodges the punch, showing his strong and steady posture, then headbutts the opponent lightly before continuing the sequence with smooth movements. Lastly, he picks up a prop stick and completes the scene, using it as part of the choreography. All the spectators, including the director, are left completely stunned by what they've just witnessed. Yunha becomes very frightened after seeing that. Kang then starts walking toward her, adding to her fear, but he soon sticks to the script, giving the best camera angle and saying to Yunha that he has come to save her. Yunha is still terrified and asks Kang if he is going to let her live. Hearing that, Kang thinks to himself that it isn't in the script. The director then calls for a cut. Everything becomes chaotic because Kang acted on his own, even though he was told to pretend to hit the enemies, not actually hit them. The staff start wondering if the supporting trio is still okay and begin mumbling that everyone else has already ended up in the hospital after that earlier incident. The director also stands up, commenting that he was so focused on filming that he forgot to call for a cut. Suddenly, one of the trio actors stands up and calls out to the director, shocking him. The trio happily approaches Kang and asks what kind of technique he used. They are amazed because it didn't hurt at all when Kang was striking them. All three of them have experienced something like this for the first time in their lives. They admit that it felt so realistic that they were truly scared, yet they didn't feel any pain, and they ask Kang how he managed to do that. The director doesn't understand and asks what they are talking about, confirming whether they are really not hurt. The man with the cap shouts at Kang, asking why he hit the supporting trio for real when he had clearly instructed him to act, not to fight or injure anyone. After that, he points at the trio, asking how they are, but they reply that they are completely fine. Without realizing it, the man with the cap repeats that they are totally fine, then immediately realizes what he just said and freezes. Nervously, he asks them again if they are really okay. They reply that they aren't sure how to explain it, but it felt like there was a cushion or something soft between them, as if they were sliding instead of being hit. The man with the cap can't understand the logic behind it. Kang confirms that it's exactly as they said and explains that it's similar to when someone slides sideways on a downhill ski. Hearing that, the man with the cap looks confused and asks the actor Kim if he's alright since his body flew up when he got hit in the knee. Kim replies that Kang didn't actually hit him directly. He just slid his knee along gently and even caught him a bit when he fell. The man with the cap is astonished, wondering how Kang did that. He finds it impossible because their cameras clearly filmed the scene where they seem to be hit, yet no one is injured. Happily, the director tells everyone to stop and call it a day. Then he laughs, saying that he knew it all along, and that's why he didn't stop the filming. All the staff members silently call him a liar in their minds, of course. After that, they decide to review the camera footage to check how the scene turned out. When they watch it, it looks even better than expected. Even the moment when the trio gets grabbed by the collar is captured perfectly. Yuchan compliments the director for filming such great action. But another crew member comments that rather than saying it was the director's camera work, it would be more accurate to say that the actor calculated each camera position and movement himself, while the director simply followed along. Every camera angle came out perfectly. Yuchan can't believe it, realizing that Kang calculated every single camera angle and moved accordingly from start to finish. After that, Kang asks the director if his part is over now. Happily, the director confirms that it's done and tells Kang that he's truly impressed. Then the director calls everyone together, telling them to take inspiration from Kang's performance and move on to the next scene. He asks Yuchan if he's ready. Yuchan confirms that he's ready and calls Kang Master, complimenting his amazing skills. He then asks which agency Kang is affiliated with. Jian replies that it's the Earth Union strategy, but Kang quickly interrupts her, telling Yuchan that he works with the catering truck. Seeing all that irritates Yunha and makes her very upset. She thinks that Yuchan is being foolish because, in her opinion, Kang wasn't acting at all, and that the trio only pretended not to be hurt so they wouldn't have to reshoot the scene. She believes that anyone could see Kang was really hitting them. However, in reality, the trio actually feels completely refreshed, as if all their fatigue has disappeared. But to Yunha's eyes, they look like they're holding back tears from pain. She even thinks that if the script had said for Kang to hit her too, he would have done so without hesitation. At that moment, Kang looks at her, giving her goosebumps. She wonders why he's glaring at her and worries that he might be able to read her thoughts. In reality, Kong is looking at a stream of dust coming from the wall. Giant informs Kong that she has detected a strange sound from inside the structure. Immediately, Kong looks up, and Giant identifies the source of the problem, informing him that debris will start falling from the ceiling in just a few moments. When the structure breaks, fragments could hit the actors. Kong wonders why the ceiling is suddenly collapsing, and Giant starts a countdown, warning that it will fall in 5 seconds. Acting quickly, Kong grabs Yuchon and pushes him safely in another direction. Yunhe gets terrified, shouting in panic and calling for help. Ignoring her cries, Kong grabs a stick and pulls her toward him to shield her from the falling debris. The loud crashing sounds attract all the other staff members, who rush over to report the situation, while Kong continues to protect Yunhe from the falling pieces. She cries and shouts for her mother to help her, terrified. Kong keeps striking away the falling fragments, but suddenly, Giant warns him that a larger structure is collapsing as well. All the staff members are shocked to see the debris falling, and they immediately ask Yunhe and Kong if they are alright. They try to reach Yunhe, but she isn't responding at all, and visibility is severely reduced because of the dust. As the dust begins to settle, it becomes clear that Kong is holding Yunhe. She starts screaming for help again. Kong comments that she's still alive and asks if she was very surprised. She looks at him and asks why he threw Yuchon, clearly finding it offensive. Kong explains that the set collapsed and he saved them. Hearing that, she looks around and finally realizes what has happened. She then looks up, wondering what is going on with the rest of the set. Kong replies that he doesn't know, but notes that it was poorly constructed. She understands that Kong saved her and Yuchon. Her behavior softens, and she acknowledges that Kong saved her. Kong asks her, now that she understands, to get down safely. She nervously and embarrassingly stands there. Yuchon approaches Kong, calling him Master, and explains that when Kong suddenly threw him, he thought Kong held a grudge against him. Kong is confused and asks if he's alright. Realizing what Kong means, Yuchon notices that, even though it looked like he was thrown forcefully, he is completely fine. The director comes running toward them, anxiously asking Yuchon and Yunhe if they are alright. Yuchon confirms that they are fine because Kong saved them instantly. The director then asks about Yunhe. She looks at Kong, starts blushing, and says that she's okay, her opinion of Kong softening as she considers that he might actually not be a bad guy. The director finally exhales in relief because it was an extremely close call. If those steel bars had fallen on the actors, someone could have died. With the ongoing drug scandal, an accident like this could have completely ruined the director's movie. In the director's eyes, Kong is now a true hero. The man with the cap informs the director that the set will need repairs before filming can continue. This makes the director very angry, calling him crazy because the structure could collapse again if they only make quick fixes. Hearing this, the man with the cap asks the director about how they should handle the remaining scenes. Another staff member runs over to tell the director that they captured the entire incident on camera perfectly. Both the director and the man with the cap ask what he means, and the cameraman explains that he had a camera rolling for behind-the-scenes footage and caught the whole incident on tape. They are extremely lucky, and he tells the director to go ahead and play it back. They rush to the computer to watch the footage and review everything that happened during the debris fall. The director is very surprised, claiming that he filmed it, but the brown-haired cameraman clarifies that he was the one filming, not the director. Everyone is elated after seeing the footage. They marvel at how they managed to capture such a perfect scene without planning it. The director immediately decides to include it in the movie, declaring that it will be huge and calling it the birth of an iconic scene. Hearing that, the man with the cap apologizes for disrupting the director's celebration. Even though the footage is amazing, it was a real accident and not a scripted scene, so he asks the director what will happen if people find out it was an actual accident. Hearing that, the director replies that if people found out it was a real accident, they might receive a lot of hate. However, since no one was hurt, they could probably spin it positively in marketing. If any problems arise, though entertainment's lawyers could handle it because the company is capable of managing that level of trouble. The man with the cap asks if they are really going to push this through. The director replies that they have to because there's no way they won't use the footage. Then the man with the cap asks about the possibility of Kong, who is in the shot, saying that they can't use it. Hearing that, the director runs to Kong to discuss the incident. First, he thanks Kong for saving Yunhe and Yuchon. Hearing this, Yuchon cries in the corner, telling the director that he almost died too. Jian reminds Kong that rescuing civilians is part of the Earth Union's core mission, as the Earth Union and natural robotics prioritize the safety of citizens. Instead of saying all that, Kong simply tells the director that he just did what he had to do. The director begins crying and tells Kong that he is a true hero. After that, the director earnestly asks Kong about the scene where they rescued Yunhe and Yuchan, which was accidentally filmed and turned out perfectly. He asks if they can use it in the movie, promising that Kang's name will even appear in the end credits. Kong starts thinking, and Jian warns him that if an agent's face is exposed to the public, it could interfere with future missions. Seeing that Kong is considering declining, the director confirms that he will provide extra compensation. Hearing this, Jian reassesses the situation, noting that since Kang's face was covered, it shouldn't be a significant problem. Kong decides to give permission to the director, and they shake hands to seal the deal. The director thanks him sincerely. Meanwhile, the manager asks Yunhe if she is all right, as she seemed shaken earlier. Yunhe confirms that she is fine, then looks at Kang's back, noticing that his clothes are torn. She approaches him to ask if he is hurt. Kong replies that it's just a minor tear in his clothes. Yunhe finds this incredible, thinking about how she almost got crushed by a huge steel bar. Yet Kong saved both her and Yuchan without a single scratch. She blushes and thanks him, but Kong coldly replies that he was just doing his job. Yunhe becomes frustrated and tries to correct him, reminding him that she is not a staff member but an actress. Kong replies that he was joking, but to her, it is not funny, it's annoying. After that, Kong says that since his work there is done, he will head back to the catering truck. The director agrees and thanks Kong again for helping, despite being busy. The staff start whispering about how talented Kong is. Yunhe clears her throat and asks the director where Kong usually works. The man with the cap replies that he works at an internet cafe. The staff are baffled, as it makes no sense for someone so skilled to work there. Yunhe then asks if Kong will return after helping out today. The director tells her that Kong will have to come back, because he is being asked to assist tomorrow and the day after as well. With Kang's help, the movie is expected to become the best action film ever, and the director encourages Yunhe to look forward to the year-end awards. Yunhe claps, complimenting the director, and then asks if their movie is a romantic genre.